Okay, we're recording. So, how do you do? My name's Lane. We're talking about mediating conflict on Wikipedia today. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've told you in the past that when people contribute to Wikipedia, broadly there's two classifications of contributors or people engaging with Wikipedia. The majority of Wikipedia contributors or people on Wikipedia are developing content. So what these people have done is they picked a subject that interests them, and that can be anything. I've got medicine here on the page, but film, sports, music, art, whatever you can think of, content development. And then the other kind of Wikipedia contributor are what I could call functionaries or administrators. These are the people who aren't necessarily adding information or media content to Wikipedia, but they do something that supports the people who are developing media so that they have a better time on Wikipedia. So functionaries might do things like copy editing or provide tutoring if somebody has a question on Wikipedia or just answering a question. They might give opinions. They might review someone's work on request or do fact-checking. Today we're going to be talking about functionaries who do mediation. If there's two people contributing content to Wikipedia and they have a conflict with each other, they might resolve that conflict by asking for a mediator to come, talk them through it, help them find relevant Wikipedia policies so that they can peaceably come to some mutually agreeable end to whatever their conflict is. So there's different routes by means of which any Wikipedia contributor can call a mediator to what it is that they're doing. There's general paths. I'm going to show you one in a few minutes. If you don't know where else to go, very often you can just go to any forum on Wikipedia and say, I have a problem, can somebody help me with it? And then one of the functionaries or administrators on Wikipedia will put the message in the right place and make sure that the right person comes to you and helps. But if you were ever thinking about contributing to Wikipedia regularly for a project, one of the places that I might recommend that you go, if it's possible, is to find what's called a wiki project. A wiki project is a community of people that all share a common interest, and they converge and meet in a place regularly to check in with other people who are working in that area so that they can exchange ideas and collaborate. And they're very often most familiar with the history and precedent of whatever's happened in that space before. So one of the most popular wiki projects on Wikipedia is Wiki Project Medicine. I'm using that as an example here. If I wanted to talk to people there, or if I wanted to myself give a comment or participate in discussions that are happening, I would go to the top page of that wiki project. I could click New Section at the top. If I wanted to add a post, make a comment, make a request for help or assistance or other opinions, and then people would get it. So just to look at what's happening here, electronic cigarette, it's something that people are talking about. E-cigarettes are one of the hottest topics on Wikipedia. They've been that way for about a year, so we have a convergence of pressure from the tobacco industry, health industry, marketing. A lot of people are interested in this topic, and so there's always requests for help in mediation in electronic cigarettes. The second thing that's on this list is somebody talking about how do you update references to academic journals. Supposing you have health information and it's 5 years old and a new report comes out, how do you make sure that Wikipedia always has the newest report, and what do you do with the older reports? So see, someone here is sorting that out. And then there's a range of other health issues, immune cycle, something about tuberculosis, who knows what, all kinds of things are going on. But the point is, people here have questions and they're looking for assistance, and wiki projects are one of the ways where people go for get mediation whenever they have a conflict. So I wanted to show you relative size of different wiki projects. So I've given Wiki Project Medicine as an example. Here I'm at a directory of all the wiki projects, and in this sorting system it says how many Wikipedia articles the project is sorting or overseeing, how many people are participating as mediators or assistants or administrators, support for any editor who's editing in that space, and then how many people are actually editing in that space. So just to throw out some numbers, let's look at military history. So it says military history. That's covering about 145,000 articles on Wikipedia. So this is every war ever fought by every country, every general, every kind of weapon, anything to do with military history, 145,000 articles on Wikipedia. Those are overseen regularly by about 130 people who participate in Wiki Project Military History. But those 130 people, they're particularly reviewing about 3,200 people who in the last month have edited in the space of military history. So there's a relatively small number of administrators who are overseeing Wikipedians who are editing any of those articles. And note that the Wikipedia articles who are editing about military history, they may not know a thing about Wikipedia. They're editing the articles for sure, but they may not know what a wiki project is. They may not know about the guidelines. They've just come to Wikipedia to share information that they have, and these administrators are saying hello to them, looking at what they're doing, making sure that everything's in order. So other popular wiki projects. So you see at the top, there's two really popular ones: Articles for Creation. This is a functionary wiki project. Every new article goes through this one. These people review every new article that comes to Wikipedia. And then a wiki project for deleting. Supposing someone makes a new article and it's not appropriate for Wikipedia, there's another project that deletes them. So there's a lot of churn. Articles come in, articles get deleted. So among the subject matters, popular ones are military history, medicine, football, video games, film, biographies, mathematics, television. Okay? So most popular topics on Wikipedia, perhaps the most popular topics on the internet generally. So I want to skip all the way to the top from when something's at a wiki project, typically it's two people in conflict, and then someone comes and says, I'll mediate this for you. Let's talk it through. Let's sort it out. And then the problem's resolved. That's what happens in almost all cases. But just going all the way to the top, what happens if the worst things happen on Wikipedia? What if there's 20 people arguing with 20 other people? How do you finally sort this out? So going all the way to the top, we have something called the Arbitration Committee, arbitrators. These are Wikipedia elected officials. We have an election. We have regular elections. Anyone on Wikipedia can vote, and people campaign for this. And we have a set number of people who are on this committee to judge the most complicated cases on Wikipedia. So right now, these are some typical cases, and you can see a case that comes up often, American politics. So in this American politics cases, it has to do with how legislation is represented on Wikipedia. The people who are on arbitration committee, we always have, it's always happened that there's been several lawyers on the committee. So they run this kind of like a courtroom. And mixed with the lawyers, it's just regular Wikipedians who are interested in this kind of stuff. We collect statements. We have clerks by the court. They get everybody's statement. Somebody sorts out what everybody is saying, what are the major arguments that are in common with everybody else. There's they go through findings of fact, just like a courtroom. They say the judges all agree on this point, and they all agree on this point, and maybe 8 of them agreed with this, and 1 of them diverged from that. And in the end, they make a binding decision that affects how the Wikipedia article is going to be dealt with for the next couple of years. And as it happens, most of the Wikipedia community is satisfied with the results of these elections. I wouldn't say that there's been any time when the arbitrators have come up with a decision that was terribly controversial and widely disparaged by the Wikipedia community. Some people argue, but I would say on the whole, most people are happy with this arbitration process when it comes to it. And I think that they address somewhere around 3 or 4 cases every month. Going all the way to the bottom, so we've seen what happens at the very top, the arbitration committee. Now going all the way down to the bottom, what if you're just one person, you just have one question or complaint or one conflict with somebody, you've added something to Wikipedia, somebody removes it, where do you go, or what do you do? I've told you all repeatedly that it's always an option, that anytime you don't know where to go on Wikipedia, you can go to the Tea House. The Tea House is that friendly forum, especially for new users, where anyone can ask any questions and get a friendly response from a dog or this marine zoologist who studies coral, I suppose. Friendly people here, and the rule is speak in simple terms and help new users in there. But supposing you wanted to go one step above the tea house and go to the place where most experienced Wikipedians would go, even if they have a little experience, this is the General Dispute Resolution Notice Board. So if somebody needs assistance, they can press this button. It'll ask a series of questions, and when you answer the questions, it'll ask you things like which Wikipedia article is the place where the conflict is happening, what's the nature of the conflict, explain it just in one sentence, what sources are you citing, and who else is participating in the discussion. That is, if there's a conflict, that means there's two people. Who should be involved in the mediation? So if we look down here to see what's going on here, so we see Kashmir conflict, so that's a war between India and Pakistan, so that's something that comes up over and over again. Something about a school, very often students are concerned about their schools. A few things about TV shows, not atypical. And then a couple of biographies, something about language. So these go into the queue, they stay there for a while. Wikipedians address these things. And again, it's what I usually hear is that people who participate in this process, they feel that it's respectful. They feel that they get answers that are meaningful to them. It's a way to request help, and it's a system that most people are happy with when they participate in it. So I want to give an example of the usual place where conflict happens. So going back, I told you that if you're considering wiki projects, two kinds of wiki projects that support administrators or functionaries, which are people who are doing things like copy editing or supporting the people who are adding content. The other kind of wiki project, the other kind of Wikipedian, is the Wikipedian who's developing content, films or politics, law, whatever. Okay? So among the Wikipedians who are not developing content, but who are doing some functionary role, the two most popular or the two most active functionary roles are people who are reviewing new articles that get submitted to Wikipedia, and the people who delete articles. Articles are deleted when they don't meet Wikipedia standards. So it's upsetting when some new user comes to Wikipedia, they try to make a Wikipedia article, and it doesn't meet Wikipedia standards for inclusion. And so the new users are some of the most likely to go to a dispute resolution notice board or ask for help, ask what's going on. I thought that, I know I don't normally do live demonstrations in here, and I can't really say what's going to happen, but I thought that it might be useful and fun for all of us together right now to review some new article that someone has proposed or someone submitted to Wikipedia. So I've got a button here. I'm gonna press it, and then we're gonna look at. So this is we're live. This is happening live. So this is some article that someone has submitted to Wikipedia. It looks like a biography. I don't know anything about this. I'm looking at it for the first time. It's a biography, and they want it to go into Wikipedia. So please, would you review this article with me? So I'm gonna take you through the steps of what I look at, and then I'd like for you to help make a decision about what we should do with this article. So we're actually doing some conflict resolution and giving some feedback right now in this talk. So the first thing I'd like for you to notice is that there's some problem templates at the top of this article. So already we see submission declined in April, submission declined in May, and they're waiting for a review, and it says that a review can take up to 3 weeks because there's a lot of people who are making articles, and all these articles need reviews. So there's some history of back and forth between whoever is trying to develop this article and then the people who are reviewing it. So here's the feedback that's come from other Wikipedians. So someone says, this man carries no significant coverage. So that means that's a criticism that in the past, they've been adding information, but they haven't been providing sources. And as I've told you before, that when you add information to Wikipedia, the information that you contribute is supposed to be followed by a citation to the source from which it came. Someone says, you're missing the point about referencing. For a living person, we have a high standard of referencing. Every substantive fact you assert requires a citation with a reference that's about them. Okay? And then someone else, so if we're looking at who's reviewing this, someone named Kiki, Two Girl, Fiddle Faddle, someone going by Fiddle Faddle, and Focus and Learn. So this is 3 different Wikipedians, have each reviewed this article, and have each given their comments about it. So let's actually look at the article, and then I'm going to ask you what we should do with it. So David Avery is a British actor. He's known for film and television work. It looks like some British TV shows. We've got background. He's from West London, England. And then we've got a citation. Then we've got information on his career. He had a starred in a TV series. They've got some citations here. He played a lead character. More citations. It looks like just about every, not every sentence, but maybe every other sentence has a citation after it. We've got a filmography box. In 2009, he was in a series of TV shows, including Doctor Who, 24. So it's kind of some kind of actor in some TV shows. And then we've got some references at the bottom, right? So now I'm going to ask you, and none of you are muted, what does anyone think we ought to do with this Wikipedia article if we're going to review it? Anyone?
Didn't they say the complaint was that there weren't references?
Yes, that's what the complaint was.
But there seem to be references.
Yes, there do seem to be references.
I don't see a problem with that then.
Okay.
But the references are, I mean, I don't know how professional, where the references come from. Good
question. So let's look. So one reference is from a website called voiceonline.co.uk. One's from The Guardian. One's from WordPress.com. Someone named Bloody QWERTY's blog. So it's from a blog. Something from voiceonline.co.uk. And that's about some award that perhaps this person won. Something from BAFTA.org, I don't know what that is, a few things from that, and londonlive.co.uk. So some of these websites I don't know. I recognize The Guardian, and then perhaps Variety, that sounds like a magazine.
Yeah, BAFTA is a well-known film and television organization in England.
I see, okay. So Steve knows BAFTA. What do you think, Steve? Are these good references? Should we? So
I mean, they look reasonable for a living person who is not, you know, in the media industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is it important to check the references?
So this is an initial review. So what we're at this stage in the game, we're trying to establish whether the subject of this article meets Wikipedia's inclusion criteria. So there's cues for different kinds of work, and fact-checking isn't necessary at this stage. So what's necessary at this stage is we're supposed to identify whether several of these sources come from reputable publications and that they're actually talking about the subject of this article. So something that can come up sometimes is that somebody might review a TV show, for example, and it never mentions the actor, but yet they're citing some coverage of the TV show to say that the actors, to make the actor's article, right?
Can't you go online and look up the different shows and they give you the cast?
We could, yes. So someone had a link here to the Internet Movie Database. So maybe we can click through to that and see what happens. So this isn't a reliable source by himself, but do all of you know this website, Internet Movie Database? Some of you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a fairly well-known movie directory, and it's my opinion that it seems like this person's an actor. Like there's some TV series here. It seems feasible that this isn't a joke. This isn't like high school kids making an article. There's something here because we got matched. David, this isn't the last word, but David Avery's there, and we're reviewing the Wikipedia article on this person. So at least this isn't a joke. There's some coverage of him for sure.
Well, you can go on to the individual shows, too. I mean, like Doctor Who, you know, see if he's listed, because that's what one of his listings. So.
We could do that. We could look at Internet Movie Database to verify that he's in those things. What does anyone? Let's see. Can anyone propose something concrete that I can check to help me make a decision about this? And don't think about something complicated, like something that we can do in just a minute or two.
Google his name.
Yes, okay.
I was going to say that.
So that's the same person we saw in Internet Movie Database. It's coming up again. He's got a Twitter account. Let's see, David Avery. So Voice Online. This was one of the references cited, right?
Yeah, that was the first reference, actually.
Yeah. So here's some journalism about this person. It looks, I mean, obviously this is promotional for the entertainment industry, but we've got, this is dated. This isn't made by a staff. This isn't made by an anonymous writer. So we've got an author listed. And this is an interview with some commentary. So this isn't a press release. So I would call this a reliable source by Wikipedia standard because this is coming from a publication that's doing journalism. They're giving the author who wrote this a byline. And it's got a date here, so this isn't something that is going to change from time to time. This is a published piece that can be referenced. So if we reference it, we can put a URL, the author's name, and then a date. So I would call this a reliable source. So it's got to say, yeah, and that's the first reference there.
Well, again, could you refer again to what the criticisms were or the reasons they were still considering publishing this?
Sure. So let's do two things. So one, let's review the criticism, and then let's see what the article was in the past. Let's go into the history to see how the article looked when it was criticized. So the recent criticism, and this was just June 8th, this man carries no significant coverage. For a living person, we have a high standard of referencing. That was from Fiddlefaddle. So Focus and Learn said no significant coverage. Fiddlefaddle said we have a high standard of referencing. And then Kiki Girl said that there's some statements that need to be sourced in entire sections without sources. So that's definitely not true anymore. Every section has sources now. All right? So I'm gonna jump into the history. Let's see what we might see. And let's see how the article looked, say, I don't know, in May, beginning of May. Wow, looks very much the same. Let's see if I can see what the differences are. There's the May. I see. So something that I'm seeing here was that they were making statements about the person, and they cited something, and people were criticizing that source, and it looks like they removed the statement. So it looks like the person who was developing this article, what I'm seeing here is that probably what happened was some of the sources were stronger than others of the sources, and it's likely that they took out the weaker content. It's actually a lot. It's not. This isn't really a clear-cut case. There's a lot going on because if you see what's on the left and what's on the right, what's changing, the person's put a lot of work into this in response to the feedback, or at least after the feedback.
So the last comment my folks learned about this
Yes.
person having no significant coverage.
Yes.
What is there any definition of what significant coverage would be?
Yes. So let's look at that definition. So okay. I'll read this to you. So there's a concept called notability on Wikipedia, and notability is the chief determinant for whether a concept can be covered by a Wikipedia article. And I'll read this out loud. A topic is presumed to merit an article if it meets the general notability guideline below, and it's not excluded by what Wikipedia is not. So let's jump to the general notability guideline. Let's see. If a topic has received significant coverage in reliable sources that are independent of the subject, it is presumed to be suitable for a standalone article or list. Significant coverage addresses the topic directly and in detail so that no original research is needed to extract the content. And to give you an example of what significant coverage is, I would say that this article here is what Wikipedia would expect, because we have a journalistic organization, presumably with the writers acting under the direction of an editor. So this isn't somebody's personal website. This is actually some kind of journalism operation where you have people employed, and they get a byline. The stuff's stamped with a date so that you know it's not just a press release that's getting republished. And there's some actual journalism going on where the person who's writing the article, they contribute something original and personal. They're not just repeating or rewriting what's in a press release. So in my opinion, this is the standard for reliable source and for entertainment articles. Does that answer your question, Steve, about what we're looking for to determine whether there's significant coverage?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So can anyone make a decision about this? And let me pull up the bar. So I'll show you what we're looking at. So I'm hitting a review button. We can push a green button, we can push the red button, or we can push the yellow button. Can anyone give a suggestion of how they think we should rate this article and what we should say?
Well, have you looked at the structure of the article as far as including everything that is supposed to be included in a good article? Like the contents, the background, has that all been covered?
Sure. So when a Wikipedia article is made, the standards actually, it's rather low. If someone even puts say 3 sentences in an article, that's sufficient to start an article. So the criteria is, to make an article, it's not that you have to write a lot. The criteria is that you should make sure that you can cite sources to demonstrate that the subject has been covered in external media. That is, it's more important to find what exists outside of Wikipedia and cite that than it is to transcribe everything and make sure that it's fully covered in Wikipedia. Now, when it comes to Wikipedia, there's different grades. So Wikipedia starts small. The articles will start small. They'll get a poor grade. And then if someone adds more content, it can be regraded and get a better and better grade. But to actually, what we're looking for to start an article is really just, is there 3 good sentences in all of this write-up? And besides the 3 good sentences, is there a lack of bad content? So is it as least bad as possible, plus have you met the minimum requirements for being good?
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we've seen, I would accept this article.
I would too.
Okay. Thoughts from
Me
anyone
too.
else?
Yeah, I'd accept it too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. I would accept this article. I think it's fine. So hitting the accept button, and this is what it's asking me. Article assessment. So the lowest class is stub, and a stub article is something like 2 to 3 sentences. Something higher than that is start class, which means that someone submitted content, but it hasn't been through a lot of review. It doesn't have opinions from a lot of Wikipedians. Not many people are contributing to it. C class is when it passes its first review. So I would say this is more than a couple of sentences. It hasn't passed its first review, so I'm going to call this start class.
Could you go over the classes again, please?
Sure.
I couldn't understand.
It's kind of an awkward system. people have talked about revising this because we don't grade it like A, B, C, D, F, like much of the world uses in grade school. We have an ABC. A articles are really good. B articles are somewhat, less good. And then C article, that's considered to be what's the lowest level of acceptability for anything that the Wikipedia community would want to present to the world. So it's kind of our priority to get stuff to C class. That way it's minimally presentable. Like it at least has some development in the article. Start class is when the article could be at C level, all the way up to C level, except that it hasn't been reviewed or no one's checked it, like you were saying, Beth, to make sure, or all the sections, at least in the article, even if they're not developed and checked, is it at least an outline of what it's supposed to be. And then the first class, subclass, that's easy to identify. That's when something's perhaps 3 sentences long, or maybe just a paragraph, just 5 sentences long, somewhere in that space. So when it gets to be more of a paragraph, it automatically gets start class, and then it doesn't go up to C class until someone's reviewed it to make sure that at least there's an outline of everything that's supposed to be there. So, in my opinion, there's multiple sections to this article. We have a biography, we have a career, we have filmography. So this could very well be C class, but since I didn't do any fact-checking, I didn't really review it, we just gave this a quick look, I'm giving it a start class rating. Add wiki projects. So you see immediately when an article is created and a Wikipedian reviews it, they add it to wiki projects. So someone can start out typing out whatever word, and you'll get suggestions for what wiki projects this could be added to. So I'm going to add it to television. I don't really know. This person seems to work in different genres. So I'm not going to add it. I'm going to add it to television, and somebody will sort out the television genre some other time. Is this article a biography? Click the box, yes. It asked me a few more questions about his date of birth, 1986, and then he's born in Birmingham, England.
His background.
Born in Birmingham, England. Is he alive? I think so. Description of the subject, actor. Right? So the reason why I'm sorting this out is that if I put it into a wiki project, television, that means someone's going to come behind me and review this further. So at this point, we're just doing a fast review of this new article that someone submitted to see if it meets Wikipedia's minimum criteria. But it's going to get another review pretty quickly from Wiki Project Television and actually Wiki Project Biographies, because everything that's about a living person, somebody checked that to make sure that there's no libel or disparaging information in there. All right? So the big things that we've done, we've accepted the project, we applied a rating to it, we put it into a wiki project, and then just to prevent libel or anything rude being said about the person, we put some information about what they are. They're an actor and their year of birth. Does anyone have any questions about this rating process? That happens to every Wikipedia article that gets submitted. Okay. I'm going to accept and publish this.
Well, that actually is subject to opinion because this did meet the criteria of Class C in a way, you said.
Yeah, but for it to go to Class C, someone needs to do some fact-checking. So one of the things that needs to happen is somebody should click through and make sure that these references actually talk about this person. So I'm going to check one right now. So I just picked reference 5. Here I am at some website, and I'm going to search for the person's name. So already it looks like we got a problem. I'm searching for the person's name, and it's not appearing in the link. David.
Okay.
Oops. Let's see. Yeah. So I searched for the person's first name. I searched for the person's last name. So there could be a problem here. So either I don't see their name in the text, but here's something else that's going on. It could be in this video. This is a page with a video, and I'm not going to watch this video right now, and I don't want to click through. But it could be that this video that they're linking to is talking about either the movie or this person's acting.
The video has the name No Game on it, and I remember before it said something about he has a game or something like that. So maybe there's a connection there.
Maybe. Yeah, the video is called Brothers with No Game. And let's see. Yeah, so he's notable for playing the lead character Marcus Graham in the multi-award-winning web-to-television series Brothers with No Game. So it's saying that he was an actor in that show, and then they link to something and it's a video. So it would take me more time to check that, but
yeah,
these people have to check these kind of things. Other questions about this process of review? Okay. So if someone knows what they're doing with this, they can knock these out in less than a minute. Like really go through a lot of these. And if I were to press this button, it just gives me they never stop coming. Like there's people are always submitting Wikipedia articles. They get reviewed. Some of them get nominated for deletion. People get questions kicked right back to them. Happens continually. Happens all the time.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now that you've submitted our decision, it goes off that list now, so it's not on that list anymore? So it only takes one reviewer to do that?
That's right.
Okay.
And Lane, you're able to do this because you've been given this status to be able to do this?
No. Any of you can go do this right now if you want to.
Anybody could do it. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So there is some more signaling. So the people who reviewed in the past, if they've given a comment on this in the past, they can get an alert that I've actually accepted the article, and they might double check me since they refused in the past or requested more information. So they might want to double check to see what's changed. Why did I pass it? And then they might signal me about that. And so if somebody makes these kind of decisions, that's not the last word on things. Somebody else double checks these things. So that's why we let anybody do the reviewing. And if somebody starts doing reviewing and they make bad calls, then what happens is somebody will go to their user page and say, you need to look for this, or you need to do things this way. So they'll make more comments. Just briefly, so let me see. I'll show you something else. What would have happened if we denied something? Like what if we said the article wasn't any good? So I'm not going to go into this, but can we quickly review this one? So here we have, it's a couple of sentences. It's something about absolutely amazing ebooks. They don't have any references except their own website. And then they sort of cite something, interview with Jenna Stauffer on Good Morning Florida Keys, a TV station. But there's no, I don't have a date here. There's no date to what TV episode this is. So this is just one reference and then their own website. So this wouldn't pass. So if I wanted to review this, I would decline it. And then I get all these different reasons for declining it. So
it's a promotion piece.
What's that?
It's a promotion piece, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a promotion piece. So let me see, what's... Notability. There's one for products. Company or organization, yeah. This is the first one on here. Please, and then I can put a note if I want, please. Citation to sources which talk about this company. Right? And so I'm going to, there's a box here. It says notify submitter, so they'll get a message. And then another box here to invite them to the tea house, where they can talk with people there. So I push the button, So they get now there's a declined submission, there's my comment there, and if we were to go look on their page, your submission was declined, so they automatically got a notice. It gives them all these links that they can read to learn about how to do things, and then they get a special link for the guidelines on the notability of organizations and companies. And then they get this friendly link here to go to the Tea House. They can talk about things. I noticed your article was declined. That can be disappointing. If you're curious about why this happened, please go to the creation desk. And someone's going to follow up with this. So someone else will check me there too. So we saw an acceptance, and now we see a decline. Other questions about this process? Let's move on. So supposing a conflict becomes more nuanced, supposing it's ideological or something ambiguous where someone has to make a subjective judgment. In the case of in that second case, the person just wasn't citing references. It's pretty objective. We saw the references just weren't there. It's pretty easy to decline. Anyone would do that. In the first case, people were saying sources aren't good enough. There were a lot of sources there. We made the judgment to pass it after checking some of the sources. Little subjectivity there. But neutral point of view, this is something that comes up a lot. Is it what happens when Wikipedia has an ideological slant? And again, this is live. I don't really know what's going on here, but just to see what's happening. Okay, I'm familiar with this kind of issue. I don't know this issue right here, but the feminism portal seems to be brigading various suffrage articles with their sidebar. But I don't know anything about this issue. I could be completely wrong about this. But since I see this happening on Wikipedia, especially with historical issues, what I think is happening here is that people today are going into biographies of historical figures, perhaps leaders in the women's suffrage movement, and putting labels on them or directories on them or including them in talks about contemporary feminism. And the difficulty is when you have a historical figure, even if it's someone who was advancing women's rights, the women's rights movement of 100 years ago is very different from the contemporary feminist movement. And it may not be appropriate, it probably isn't appropriate, to call people before the age of feminism feminists, even if they were doing some things that advance women's rights. Did I make myself clear? Does everyone understand how you can't apply modern labels to historical figures?
Yeah.
All right. So there's this kind of discussion happening here.
I sort of understand it, but I mean, people use comparisons all the time.
Comparison is one thing, but like, would you call Susan B. Anthony a feminist? Like, she's an American women's rights advocate, but she probably never used the word feminism, and the feminism as a word didn't exist in her time. So,
I see you're dealing with a word, the feminism. I see.
Yeah, should you call historical figures feminists if they were women's rights activists, or so many other things? Like, I don't know. You could look at any minority. Is someone from 100 years ago, if they were doing Latino rights or rights for youth, would you call them activists if they didn't call themselves that? Can you apply these? When the language changes, do you change the history books too?
That's true, but I won't get into an argument about it. But if you look at terms,
if you wanted to get into an argument about it, there's not any time you want to start an argument about anything. There's probably a place on Wikipedia where someone will entertain you.
Okay.
Right. So I'm showing you this because this is one of the more gray areas, and it really, it's not so cluttered. You can see there's these different conversations happening. They're kind of long, but they have a resolution. Like, it gets to an end. There's a few people. So here's someone talking. Someone raises an issue. Someone else replies. Someone else gives a comment, and look, the conversation resolves. And I would expect that if you look at these, people are happy with the resolution. Okay. Let's see, where? Okay, we have 10 minutes left in the hour. I hope that in what I covered today, some of you can find relevance to what it is you're doing. I hope I didn't get too abstract. Does anyone have any questions or comments about dispute resolution or mediation on Wikipedia? And then before we end, I also want to ask if anyone has any questions about what you might be doing on Wikipedia or how I can support whatever project you want to do. Thoughts from anyone?
Oh, this is really interesting.
I'm glad you think so. I'm glad it didn't bore you. I like talking about this stuff. I'm just flattered that any of you will listen to me.
Where do we find all these links to the mediation efforts and such?
Sure. If you don't know where to go, then you can always ask at the Tea House. If you know where to go, so if you
just look at, you just type it in under the search.
Yeah. So dispute resolution is what it's called.
Okay.
Dispute resolution. Let's see. And for dispute resolution policies on Wikipedia, see the Wikipedia section on that. So here I am. Actually, and the place I want to go to is the dispute resolution notice board. So even I get it wrong sometimes. This is the place where you hit a button, it asks you. So maybe I'll hit it. So see, I hit the button, and it's taking me through a form. It's asking me some questions. I say yes, no. Like, if I follow this, then it'll post my dispute. So this is the general queue for any kind of dispute on Wikipedia. The first stop for somebody who knows where they want to go. But then also there's other places like that neutrality notice board where the feminism thing was. If someone knows the names of these places, they can go to them directly. This is reliable sources notice board. So if someone's citing something and you want to say, is this a good source to cite, you can get other opinions there. And if you can navigate to any of these notice boards or any of these dispute resolution places, you'll often find a box like this. This is called a navigational box. And you might be able to find something that suits you better there. So here's a dispute resolution for original research, fringe theories, external links. That's good for determining whether something's spam or whether it's something Wikipedia really should cite. Copyright. When is it okay to copy something in Wikipedia? Sentences, blocks of text. When should you not do that? Biographies of living persons. I would say that's the most policed place because Wikipedia, the whole community has agreed that we should especially police any biography about a living person to make sure that nothing disparaging is said about anyone. So we err on the side of caution. So those are some links to some places. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Other questions from anyone?
No questions really, but it was really interesting.
I'm glad you liked. It's a crazy little place, right? All these people doing all these things. Like watching ants. They're running in every direction.
Yeah.
Who started it? I don't even know the history of Wikipedia.
So there's one person who gets credit for starting it more than anybody else. His name is Jimbo Wells. He looks like this, but it's definitely true that when he started Wikipedia, he had no idea how it would work. He didn't plan for the community to do all these things. He didn't organize all these forums. He didn't imagine what kind of dispute resolution would happen, and it wasn't as if he had an idea of what would happen or that it would even work. So what he did was he installed the Wiki software. He set it up, and when the Wiki software was set up, people spontaneously organized all these functions over time. So he was not an architect that designed the layout of this community, nor was he the person who developed the software. So the software already existed. It was free for anyone to reuse. He installed it on a server and said, this is an encyclopedia. Anyone can do what they want. And then the community of volunteers over time, they developed all these functions. So there was no central planning. And there was also no money. So when he set everything up, He didn't invest any money or resources or staff in telling anybody what to do. So I suppose I could tell you something else that'll give you some insight about how things work. So Wikipedia is governed by the Wikimedia Foundation, and the Wikimedia Foundation oversees all these different projects. So there's a Wikipedia in English, there's one in every language, Korean and Persian and whatever other language you can think of. And then there's all these images and everything else that it does. When you think of the governance of this, so yes, that person founded the website, in a sense, and he was also the person who registered the nonprofit organization that stewarded the project. But like most nonprofit organizations, it's governed by a board. Something that's unusual about the board of the Wikimedia Foundation is that half of the board is elected by Wikipedia contributors. I should have invited all of you to participate in the election. I'm sorry that I didn't do it. It just ended a couple of weeks ago. So anyone who has a Wikipedia account and had edited a few times can vote in the board. Maybe some of you saw it on your watch list. If you were logged into Wikipedia, you would have got a message to come vote in the election.
Yeah, I actually saw that.
Yeah.
And it's just then you don't know anybody. Obviously, how would you vote for somebody? It takes a lot of time then to research or try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So there's question and answers. So we had this election. Everyone was asked questions. So there's a lot of questions. So here's like 40 questions that anyone can answer. And let's look. So behavior towards new editors. This was the first question. So someone asked a question, and then all the candidates. So here's a candidate, and there's their answer. Here's a candidate, there's their answer. Here's a candidate, this person didn't answer. So the community's asking all these people questions, and then they're answering them. And in the end, after some weeks, people vote, and it looks like, so there's 3 candidates who won. There were 3 positions. These 3 candidates won, and it says they got 78% confirmation. So among the voters, it was calculated that they had 78% support. That's what was necessary, or the top voter did. So just to tell you something about the candidates, one of these guys, Denny, he works at Google. He's a software developer, information architect. He works on the technical side. Doc James, he's an actual emergency room physician that edits Wikipedia. Denny, I think he speaks Serbian. He speaks English too, but I think he speaks Serbian or Croatian. James, he speaks English. And this guy Pundit, he's Polish, and he's a university professor and researcher. So they're all professionals. They're fine people. The other candidates were very good also, but that's the Wikipedia community. Half of the seats on the board, so there's 10 positions, and 5 of those are community elected. So very unusual nonprofit structure. I don't know of any other nonprofit organization that allows anyone in the world to. So it has to be Wikipedians, but anyone can vote on these positions. That's where the governance comes from. So does that answer your question about where Wikipedia came from?
Oh, thank you.
Strange explanation, maybe. Other questions? We got a couple of minutes.
This has been a great session.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Yeah.
All right. So if any of you have questions, you can post them to the mailing list. You can, if you do something on Wikipedia, I'll watch it and I'll try to get comments to everybody this week. When we meet next week, I think the topic of the class is to discuss outreach and how any Wikipedia article affects the audience. And so I'll try to have some metrics to you to report the outcomes of this class, how many people are actually reading our content. So thanks everyone for joining me. And if you have private questions, you can email me privately too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.